Where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys. Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to the Safe Space. Today I have Wonderful Morrison, and yes, it is her birth name. She usually says that in her intro, but I had to steal that from her for the show. She is a powerhouse. She has the evolution of the fempreneur, which I was so honored to be a guest on, but she's also a brand and marketing architect, helping fempreneurs elevate their impact and influence. She's coming on today to not only tell how she evolved into this amazing architectural role for the divine feminine, but also just tell her story and give us some tips and tricks on how to really survive authentically in the digital world. So Wonderful. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. I always look forward to having a conversation with you. You're such an insightful human when it comes to the things that you're such an expert in.
I appreciate that. I just get lost in how honestly amazing your appearance is every time I see you.
Oh,
It's the beautiful red lips. You're
oh,
so beautiful and poised. And I've had several interactions with you where, I mean, I learn so much from you every time. I appreciate all the compliments that you gave me, but I know every time I talk to you, I'm just going to learn something that's just going to catapult me in an area of my life. And when you meet people like that, you really just want to like air hug them through.
all right.
I'm like,
Yes.
being in my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. And it's interesting because I have evolved into this space,
Mm-hmm.
into the version that you're talking about of me, which is so interesting because when you were introducing me, I thought, "God, I'm really that person now." You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
when you're in your own life, you don't really recognize the cycle of your own journey, and then when somebody else from outside of you is talking about you, you're like, "Oh wow, yeah,
And that I did that. Yes.
yeah,
That's a
for
great thing to
sure."
bring up. I've definitely had that happen on interviews where people interview me and I'm like, huh, huh, that's me. That's me. They're talking about me.
Yeah,
I did that. That's me. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, this is all I know you as. And I remember the first time one of my friends said that to me. I met her at this women's event and I ended up getting pulled on stage randomly to fill space for like 20 or 30 minutes. And I have horrible stage fright, believe it or not, especially person to person. And I got up there and she's like, literally, my first impression of you is grabbing the microphone and going up on the stage and just giving this improvised speech. You didn't even know you were speaking that day. She's like, you're just a rock star to me. And I'm like, that's how you see me? You think I'm a rock star? She's like, every time. I'm like, that's my friend. Like, that's my first impression, which I'm like, hell yeah, I'll take it. But I mean, when I met you, it was on Brad's show. And I like, you're seeing everybody that pops up. You're like, ooh, what did they do? And I'm like, where is my notebook? Yes, everything she says. I know we're still like hung up on Lorna because both of us were just like,
Oh God. Yeah. Right.
I was drooling over you the same day because I was like, she's so powerful. And man,
Oh, thank
every
you.
everything you have is everything I just want to learn more about. But I have so many beginner questions before we get into the branding and marketing. Like, tell us about you, your upbringing, how you were inspired to get into this work and really help women.
So I believe wholeheartedly in the divine design of life, right? Like, and I've only been a business owner in my entire adult life. When I look back at the dots that connect,
Mm-hmm.
I come from a family of farmers. And I would be considered fifth generation farmer, although I don't have a farm. I kind of am farm strong in that sense, right? Of like that perseverance, resilience, commitment, loyalty, the things that are all the systematic core of being a business owner, because those are the things that is already in you, that's intrinsically makes you want to show up in this chaotic world of business owning, because it's never predictable. It's the most unpredictable space ever. But I think at the core of this unpredictability is knowing the sense of who you are. Right, that's where all that resilience comes from. So I grew up in a family that was highly conservative, religious background, that had been building their wealth through their own hard work, their sweat and tears, their hands. And so there was an expectation, because I'm, again, fifth generation, right? So there's an expectation to be more and to also be labeled. That was really suffocating. It was extremely suffocating. And culturally, women in my culture have a long history of suffocation through our family, through our culture, through everything. So that's really where the spark and the ember of this revolutionary view of how women's feminine power needs to exist. I just didn't know how to do it. I just wasn't like, where do I even start? Where do I begin? And then in my 20s, my husband and I were given this opportunity to run a business. It was out of nowhere. We weren't looking for it, right? Divine design, the universe knew. But then I was also a really young mom, not really young. We were in college. I was 20 years old. But in my mind, I'm still young because I didn't get a lot of exposure. My family's conservative people. I was like, what is this? I didn't know it then. I know it now. But our intuition, like you said earlier, it's our third brain. It had been strong in me from day one. And I just knew, like, I'm meant to be a business owner. I don't know why. Not sure. I'm 20 years old. I'm second year in college. I'm a mom. I don't know what I'm doing. But my third brain was like, I know what you're doing, and I know what you need to do. So let's do it. So we did. We jumped in, and it was like being in my own skin. It felt very natural. I didn't get overwhelmed. It wasn't all of these crazy. But what I started to see was women's idea of health and fitness. So we were in the health and fitness industry. We owned a brick and mortar, and men came in by droves. I mean, we had a high majority of men members. But when women came to see me, to drop off their kids or something, because we owned a martial arts school. And so when they would drop off their kids and they would see me and they know, oh, like, wow, she does it too. I started my own program for women, just women, nobody else. And that's really where that began in a physical sense, right? It wasn't just my idea or a thought. I was like bringing it into fruition. And then when I got into the online space, again, I had zero intention of working with women only, but that's where my divine design was leading me, was only to work with women in business, because we share the same pain no matter what arena, because of the restrictions that we've had for centuries. So success is very painful. Failure is very painful. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. And I'm here to show you that it doesn't have to be. That's where, now fast forward, here I am.
You said something on the interview we did with Brad that has stuck with me and made me feel so good about the failures that I did in my corporate life years ago. And you said the work world and the world in general is made for masculinity and the masculine headspace and the masculine workspace. There's not a lot of room for the feminine in here. That's what we're redefining. That's what this rise, even in business, is coming. And to know that, but to have someone say it to you is just two different feelings. I don't even know how to compare. Because when you said it, it's like a light bulb went on about maybe some guilt of did I try hard enough? Did I do good enough? Did I react too much? Like all of these things that I really felt separated me and set me back in that field of working class masculinity. And when you said it, I was like, this woman has got something that the world needs on a bigger scale than just even someone I don't want to say like as simple as like, I'm a life coach and I'm going to help you do this. I'm like, identify what the world is for me first. Let me know I feel this way because I'm not meant to fit into that. I'm here to change it. And that was just profoundly powerful for me when you said that. And even you following your intuition and your guidance, things dropping in your lap and being like, yes, let's take this opportunity. That's extremely powerful. And there's a lot of people that won't take that risk or that leap of faith because of that preconditioning that they have.
And, you know, I go back, and although there's a little bit of a negative tone to my religious upbringing, I really look back and think it set the stage for me. Because the one thing about being in a conservative, sort of restrictive environment is you learn discipline in such a way that can't be taught any other way, right? So I have a very disciplined mind towards this is what I believe and this is what I'm going to hold on to. This is who I am and this is what I'm going to hold on to. So that strength that was cultivated really early on really served me well, because what you just said about how, you know, we have to restructure, we're in a revolutionary phase of the world of where business is going. That was not an easy step for me. It actually, I'll never forget it. It was the December. I always take December off. First, it's my birthday month. And secondly, it's just the end of the year. So as a business owner, you look at that as your assessment month, right? It was 2019. I think it was right before COVID. I spent 2 weeks bawling, crying. I was like crying on the floor in my bedroom. And because I knew it had to shift, I knew the world had to move in a different way. And why did I have to be the one to do, like, why me? Right? I felt a little like Noah type situation.
I don't want to build the ark. I'm going to look crazy.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do it, but it kept calling for me to be like, you have, and the word you used to describe me, powerful. I know that about me, but I've never heard anybody else say that about me, which makes me believe even more so I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But that initial ask from the heavens was not an okay time. I cried about it. I said no a bunch of times. And finally, I surrendered. I surrendered to the strongest part of the ask. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll give it a try. And here we are. Right. So I appreciate what you're saying.
I love it. I can't tell you how many times since we've became internet friends that I'm inspired by your content. I'm inspired by the different brands that you have within your umbrella. And it really is just like a true passion. It's an authentic passion that I can see coming through. And you know, brand and marketing, like you get to almost evaluate a lot of people's authenticity, whether you're doing business or just like, hey, that's not really going to read well to who you want to do. To have that connection or just to be able to see through people's BS, you have to be powerful to be able to be grounded in that decision making as well, because you want them to be successful, but you also don't want to be a part of the circus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a fine balance. And I think that's why I want to work with women predominantly, right? 99.9% of my clients are women, is because that's the struggle. How do you balance that? How do you balance being me, Cheyenne, this wisdom of spiritual awakening, and also Cheyenne, the human that has a baby, is married, and loves all these other things, and blend it together where it makes sense to the paying customer, but also makes sense for the followers who are being enlightened by your words. That's a very unique space as a business owner. And for women, what we know is how to be transactional, because that's what the world is. The world of business has been built on a masculine energy of transaction, which has worked fine. But when you put women in that position, it's very conflicting, right? There's a conflict inside of like, ooh, this does not feel aligned. Yes, I want to make money, but I also want to share my heart and my soul. So, and then there's this battle that goes on of like, I don't want to say I want to be a millionaire and also love people. Yeah, you can. As a matter of fact, there's a ton of research on highly wealthy, ambitious people. The first thing they do is tithe. Yeah. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door that came out in the 90s that studied at the time millionaires, which if you wrote it today, it'd be about billionaires. And what is their common denominator amongst all these millionaires from different industries? And first one is they all tithe, not necessarily to a church, but they tithe to something because they're grateful for something bigger than themselves.
Wow. Are we about to get into energy talk? Because you just got my volume.
Yeah.
You're right. I've looked into successful people, like whether they have spiritual practice, self-help, self-care, like what are they doing behind the scenes to give us and sell us the illusion that they're just naturally this good every day? Like they're Ricky Bobby and they wake up every day and piss excellence. What are they doing? That we're not seeing. And it is all of these, I mean, it's connecting to the higher power. It's the visualization.
Oh, for sure.
That it's really pushing through. And you brought up discipline, which is something that like my rebellious side obviously wants to combat. But I'm to the point now where I'm like, discipline is so sexy. Like on the days where I just really stick with my regiment on every list that I have, I'm like, I killed today and I was disciplined, and I will shout it from the rooftops, because there's other days where I'm like, I'm not doing as good as Tuesday. Like I don't really feel the same energetic connection. But yes, like really just tying yourself to that higher power is in every story that I found. The visualizations, whatever.
Oh my gosh. It's the most high performing humans in history has a very similar, it doesn't matter if it's 1785, 1925, or 2024, but the common denominator of history makers doesn't really change. Like they have a very similar desire to impact the world in a greater way, to improve life as we know it, to give their heart and soul above all things, and to know that we are not separate from each other, right? Like those are the driving force of all history makers, of like why they're willing to die for their cause, is that we all need each other. But it's been eschewed by a lot of what we see success, right? The definition of success is like, oh, we just got to step over everyone. Or in the woman's world for a long time, it was competition, comparison. We compare with each other, then we compete with each other. And it's like, who's going to get the man? Who's going to get the. Where really it's evolving into, that's not really how business is done. Business is always at the core of it, courage and love. Because we have to have the courage to be the thing we're meant for, and to love it so much that we're willing to go through all of the chaos and uncertainty of what business offers, and to keep giving the love, right? So it's really interesting. People assume business is one way: money, 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 wealth, 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 billions, 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 sell, sell, sell. But the most successful business owners are serve, love, give. Weird, right?
Like I want it that way, even though I know that there's the duality in it. But what came to mind when you were saying that, to add on to it, was also the trust aspect, because I certainly wasn't alive for this time of dealing, but I've seen movies where handshake deals and your word was the contract. And I'm like, that is
Yeah.
so sexy. That is
Right.
just wow. Could you imagine if we lived in a world where your word was your binding contract and that handshake deal was the signature on the bottom line? And I do believe we're evolving like back to our
Yes.
origin of that, getting away from this distortion that if you are successful in life, you must have screwed people over.
Yes.
That perception of people that are rich, that are wealthy, that have made it. It's like, okay, well, who did you sacrifice to get on the top of the ladder?
Right. Right. Or like in the women's world is who'd you sleep with to get there kind of thing. It's really, I think media was created for entertainment.
Truly.
And yeah, there is parts of that's entertainment, but it's also very influential, and more so today in the world of technology than ever. And I think when, going into this branding and marketing, what everybody always wants to stand out. There's 8 billion people on earth like, "Ooh, how do I stand out? I'm over here. This is me." And the answer never changes. Be authentically you, and that's it. Be enough. Be enough for you, because there's plenty of people for you. And when I say this, I get some kind of resistance where it's like, well, wonderful. What about, I need to make this much money. And I'm thinking, your business isn't even set up to take in 500 people. Like, what's the care that you have through your service for one person? And you master serving one person at the greatest capacity. You can get to 2. Then you master 2 serving at the greatest capacity, and then get to 3. You can't, it's never like about the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, as a small business owner, it's got to be based on quality, the quality of service, the quality of you. That's what I love about you. Whenever you say, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet because I'm still in this. Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's your truth. But people get a little bit, wild, and they're like, I need 1,000 clients today.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's also like the false programming from the masculine side, where it is that sell, money, money, money? Because like you said, like redefining the definition of success. And my old definition was the standard of like, it's making money, it's being successful, it's notoriety, it's fame and fortune, it's all the things that you're sold success is. When I went through like all of the, like unwinding of who I thought I was and all of that spiritual talk that I'm definitely not going to take the whole interview with, one of the things that I wrote down was like, what does success mean to me? Because it isn't a 401k or the corporate ladder or the career path that I was on and was giving that I completely blew up with, and like a bomb. But I was like, success for me is just doing what I actually always wanted to do. If today my success was just pushing publish on a platform, it wasn't, oh, this post is successful if it gets this many likes, this much engagement, and this opportunity.
Yeah.
The success alone for me, which will tend to grow over time, it was just being able to publish at the time. Oh my God, I'm so successful today. And going through pregnancy, my husband would come home and he'd be like, how was your day? I go, oh my gosh, I made a lung today. Baby, you have no idea. I've been making a human.
Yeah.
Today, like all of these fun little things that we don't overlook. And I know you just posted about this on your your Facebook, but it was talking about taking the small little wins and acknowledging those on the path to whatever success means to you.
Right. And I think, working with women, this is where my heart really started to explode of like, okay, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm supposed to be doing this, because the pain I would hear in women's voice, who, by the way, have had plenty of success in their lives, right? Like they've raised children, they've purchased homes, they've gone on their bucket list trips. And then when it comes to business, it's like, oh my gosh, but I can't. And I'm thinking, no, it's because you're not even celebrating the little thing of like, I talk to one person that's interested in what I do. That takes a lot of courage, because think about my mom asked me a question once when I was really young. She said, where do you think the best movies that were never made is? Where do you think it's like hiding? And I'm like, what? And she goes, where do you think the most beautiful music that would have opened your heart, where do you think those that have never been created are? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, where do you think they are? In a vault, in a cave? Like, where do you think that these unsung, unseen, life-changing experiences that we're never going to experience, where do you think they are? And I'm like, in the ocean, in the depths of the ocean. She's like, nope. And I'm like, in the deepest forest in the world. She's like, no. She goes, it's at every cemetery you go to, because people die with their dreams. And I remember going, whoa.
Oh my gosh. I'm this feeling right now. She went there. I was like, it's in their minds. But she went to the furthest level.
Yeah. She said, every time you go to a cemetery, think of all the things that would have made your life more beautiful if they had been created, that weren't, because they were. And it gave me chills. And I remember, I think about that often whenever it gets really hard in business, like, oh my gosh, I got to post another social media thing or do this. Because it's never really about me. It's not about you. It's about the people that are being touched and changed because we exist. And that is all energy. That is all soul. That is all the beauty of the human existence, right? But what scares us is, oh, I'm not going to make enough money, or how can I pay this, or how can I? It's like a conundrum. It's a conundrum.
That, oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna borrow that and credit your mom. I credit everybody I talk about, but man, that just like that slapped me across the face, especially when you're like the cemetery, because I was not expecting that. But it's so true. And it brings me to honestly something that I think you're probably really good at, especially 25 years in the biz, going through checking authenticity. But I hope this question does not escape me as soon as I level up for it. I'm like, please don't go away. That was so good. Your mom really flabbergasted me with that. Oh, okay. So obviously in coaching and branding, you're going to have, again, the how do I stand out question. And I know you talk about being authentically you, but do you ever have to have the conversation with someone who's like wanting to almost back out of it? Like they're like, I know it was placed on my heart. I'm too scared to like move forward.
Oh, like, yeah.
Have that pep talk where you're like, you're not doing it. I know there's a million other people that are doing it, but you're not doing it. And they aren't you and you aren't them. Like, I mean, get down to their finger DNA of their soul. It's like, this was put on your heart. This is what we're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why one of my favorite quotes is by a guy named Joseph Campbell, when he says, we have to let go of the life we plan to live the life we're meant for, is because that's the thing, is people can feel it in their bones, in their soul, like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm meant to do. But it stops us because we're like, oh, but I still have to pay. I can't quit my job, right? I can't quit my job because I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. I don't want to, it seems like a lot of work, or maybe what I have to offer. There's already 100 million coaches out there that is in the fitness industry. What do I need to show up for? And I always think about that statement my mom said about those. Can you imagine if, like, the star, for instance, the Star Spangled Banner never It never went anywhere except for that space on that sheet of paper. It never became anything. Every time you hear it now, it doesn't matter if you were born here or not. It makes there's a it's something in the energy of that song that you think, hell yes. When it talks about and the flag was still there, come on. Who doesn't just want to stand up and go, yes, we
Yes.
did it. We did it. Right? Like,
Mhm.
what if it wasn't that? Or every country has its own music that makes you proud no matter where you're at. And when that energy doesn't come forth, you're literally allowing people to suffer. It's like, go ahead and just suffer. And all because we're scared. All because we're scared to show up in our glory and what we're meant for.
Yes.
Even one person suffering, right?
Mhm.
One person, it doesn't matter. It took one person, it takes one person to change the world. It takes one person suffering to also change the world. So I feel like to me, whenever I get that space, I get real like amped up. I'm like, all right, we're about to get rocky right here. I'm not letting, there's no way you entered my life just so you could be like, nah, never mind.
I'm good. I'm a bad
Yeah,
guy.
that's for somebody else.
Yeah.
You should have called someone else.
One of the probably on the same level of as your mother's question, because I think it hit me the same way, was like someone was talking to someone about like their purpose and if they should do it. And I don't know if I did. And they said, imagine you die and you walk into a room and God's there and there's two binders in front of you. There's a thin one and there's a really thick one. And you sit down and God slides the thin one to you and he says, this is everything that you did in your life. This is everything you could have been. Can you tell me why you didn't finish what you said you were going to do? What stopped you? So I asked myself those questions in meditation and a journaling format because I was like, what limiting beliefs are really stuck in me right now where this vision in my head is not, they're not aligning with my heart. Like I'm hiding again, right? My feminine is like, no, please don't look at me. And
yeah,
I was like, I had to answer those really strong questions, which it was like, yeah, I am scared to come out into like, yeah, I am scared to talk about the things that I'm talking about because they're not normal. You know, it's not what we've been programmed to do or talk about. This wasn't the journey I thought I was going to take on earth. And, you know, like, I guess I am scared. I guess I am still filled with this false reality of fear that surrounds me. It's a great thing to have awareness, but I'll get into moments where I'm like, should I take this interview? Should I do this? Should I go to all of these other things? And I'm like, okay, what's my binder look like right now? You know, and I almost like picture God like, tapping his foot, like holding the binders. I'm like, I choose the big one. Just help me right now. Like I choose the big one. But it's so true because like I'm a freaking cheerleader. Like with music, with friends, with businesses, with anything I see, like I honestly really would be a great authentic marketer because I'm like, no, you have to check this out seriously. I wouldn't talk about it if I didn't give a shit about it. Right. I've always been that way since I was a kid. So like this platform is a really good outlet for me to really, I'm like, I love this. I want to share this message with the world. And I have this friend who on my first podcast, she was a master herbalist I met and she hadn't like went out and done her shows yet, but she was helping me constantly with my health for free because her program wasn't set up yet. She was helping me navigate the world of herbalism and all of this stuff. And 3.5 years later, now she's out vending, doing shows. Everybody loves her products. It's just insanely popular in the area and will only grow more. On top of that, she's amazing consultant and is helping these people with diseases they're supposedly stuck with. Like she's just, I was having doubts about the show because I was like, where is this going? What am I doing? Do I need to learn more? Do I need to market more? Do I need to take some time and just kind of go through my catalog? And I ended up meeting her at a show so I could see her first setup. And she looked at me and she's like, I just want to thank you so much for believing in me the last 3.5 years and just trusting me. And every time I called you and said, there's a million people doing this. Why am I any different? That you wouldn't let me give up on myself because look what I've done. Look what I've created. She goes, and not to mention, I've had so many people walk up and been like, oh, you're Tiffany from Who's Your Health. We heard you on Cheyenne's podcast. We've been following you since you recorded that episode, and we've been for your products. And she called me and she's like, I just had another person come up and tell me they've been dying for my product. She's like, thank you. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, not only am I like glad that my golden retriever-esque personality like works properly, but like also like, I'm like, oh, great. People are listening and they're utilizing the podcast the way that I want them to. Like, yes, it's my safe space. I'm happy to talk to everybody and, get out constantly. But when people are listening and they meet people like you or like Tiffany or all of these other people, I'm like, that is what the platform is for. It's for connection. It's for growth. It's for safety and learning and safety and knowledge. And you need those cheerleader friends to be like, no. You are not backing in. I love you enough. I see your potential and you're going to get there. And I honestly think that you do that in like an admirable business stance. I think
we also need human portals like you. You are a human. When you think of what a portal is in like all of the fantasy world and even biblically, they are the conduit in between, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I know what I know, but I need to get to the people that need what I have to offer. I don't know how to get to them. So I have to find the portal to get there, but it's the safe space, right? Like, not everybody. I'm not for everybody, and not everybody is for me. So I have to find the right people in the right space. And at the core of who I am, it's all about the safe space. That's why when you like this safe space with Cheyenne, like literally, I have been working on this energy of safe space because I didn't have that. I didn't understand why my anxiety is so high as a kid. Like, I had such high anxiety as a kid. My mom thought I had an ulcer, but I didn't realize it's because I was always reading energy, but I didn't honor my own energy space. I would just be in whatever energy there is. And 99% of the time, it felt unsafe.
Yes.
Right. So now
it's just going through you.
Yeah. So fast forward, here I'm in this realm of a bigger world of not a brick and mortar, because a brick and mortar is a safe four walls where people come in and then they are in my space. Now I'm in this space called the internet. It's like the Odyssey. It is right. It's like being on NASA. Well, how do I need to find the spaces that fit my soul, and you just happen to be the portal for that space. So you are exactly who you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, because people like us need to find that light to go walk through and say, oh, this is a safe space. These are safe people. I can share with them my knowledge because they're not going to turn around and burn it in the, ashes. It's going to, so I think that is really important as business owners, is if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't matter how much you love that person. You could love that person, but not do business with them. And that's okay. And we need to be okay with that, because there are people like you that are meant for that specific. I'm here to gather the people. You're the people whisperer.
I love it. I accept and receive all of that wholeheartedly and appreciate it. And I also just want to plug my favorite saying that I use to audit the scenario of like, if my intuition's messing up, it's like, when the feminine is safe, she opens up. So if I'm up in a meeting, a crowd, like I'm auditing, like, why do I feel like my authentic self can't be here or doesn't want to? Because I know I've been in scenarios where it's like, no matter how great you are, the information or however, it's not well received in tables. So I'm not going to sit here and try to flip this table and make these people see whatever perspective, whatever I'm trying to do. So that's my constant audit when I go out or do anything in and out of the show. I'm like, am I safe? Like, am I being myself? Am I being authentic? Are my walls up? Is my ego coming into play? There's so much, I mean, truly daily auditing with it, especially when you do provide certain information for people and you want to make sure it is in their best interest to make sure they digest it and integrate it properly. I haven't always been that aware. I had to go through that awareness of not puking on people constantly verbally. When I would like get on the phone or talk to them, I'm like, okay, this is what you need to know right now. Okay, let's do this now. Grab a pen. And I would just like ramble off, like extremely ungrounded, but super happy to give you the information. And now I'm like, you know, I pray before every interview. I'm like, please use me as a proper vessel. Please let me breathe between my sentences. And if I'm fast, slow me down.
Oh my gosh, you should put that on a shirt. That because I think when people are nervous or excited, which kind of feels the same to me,
Mhm.
we over, and it takes, practice and years of experience to know how to do that. But you have to start there. Like you have to start with, how can I be better for this space? How can I be better for the people? How can I be better for myself?
Yeah.
Right.
How can I
And that's,
be a little calmer? That's what, like in the beginning, I was like, I'm so excited to talk. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say. Like I was just like, I can't wait. Ooh, look what I found. Look at this. I found this. Just going like 100 miles an hour. And again, it's definitely a learning curve and a learning experience. But now I'm like especially studying EFT, emotional, it's called a couple different things. It's
yes.
called emotional freedom technique, where you can run through like I have my husband trained up to the point where if I'm too much for him, he walks up to me and he starts tapping right here on me.
Oh, on you.
He'll
Oh,
walk up to me and he can tell I just need to be pulled back down a little bit, like I'm going a little too far. And he just comes up,
wow.
he's like, here's your favorite point, babe, breathe. And I'm like, this is so sexy.
Oh, wow.
But EFT has been honestly life-changing for me for, again, like my history of loving to study meridian lines, energy points in the body. But for anybody that's really looking to take a break and settle back into the present moment, man, that stuff's powerful. I highly
Well,
recommend.
as business owners, I get women asking me all the time, well, how can I do this? And how, and it's usually centered around, how do I make more money? How do I get more clients? How, all of the measurements of business. And my first mentor, one of the smartest mentors I ever had, said to me, my husband and I, if you want your business to grow, and I'm thinking, ooh, he's going to give me the gold, right? He goes, if you want your business to grow exponentially and you want to have all this wealth, you have to grow with it too. You have to mimic the growth you want to see within you, which is expressed in your business. And I remember thinking, wait, that's what you're telling me? And like, I'm 22 years old and I'm thinking like, what? That seems so lame. I remember driving away from that meeting going, really? He didn't like tell us how to market this or, which space we should go and advertise in, because that's what I was expecting. But let me tell you, the reason we survived 25 years of business and was able to make $1 million in our first 7 years in a business that most people had to go get another job to sustain financially is because of that very thing of, you've got to know who you are and what you bring to the table, because you've got to match the energy growth you want to see, right? You can't just want that and then do. Like I heard in one of my personal development courses, we're not human doings, or human beings. And being is a whole different space to be in. Like to be, I was at a personal development course, and our facilitator says, I want to hear your butt puckering goal. I want you to write it on a piece of paper. And I'm thinking, what? Butt puckering? He's like, the thing that, like, when you write it, it literally makes you sick because you're so like, oh, this is scary. Big fear. He goes, I want you to write it down. And then tomorrow we're going to discuss your goal. And I'm thinking, ooh, okay, we can't do little goals. It's got to be this big, like, it makes me want to throw up goal. And I remember staying up all night going, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And this is why I want it. And these are all the things I'm going to do. I was pumped. The next day I had my, my paper. I was like ready. It's ready to share it. And he sat us all down and he goes, I want you to look at what you wrote as your butt puckering goal. And then he paused for what felt like forever. And he says, now, who do you have to be to get that? And I was like, what? What do you mean? I know what I got to do. Like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And he goes, yeah, don't care about that. I just want to know who you have to be. And it stumped me. I remember thinking, I had never heard that in my life. I've gone to a ton of these goal setting everything, right? And he just took it out the water. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't understand. And he's like, well, there's part of the problem. It's like, what? What the fuck? And he's like, yeah, you should work on that. Figuring out why you don't know how to be versus do. Because you cannot have unless you be, do, and then you have. It doesn't go the other way around. It's not do, have, be. It's not have, be, do. He's like, be, do, have. You have to be the person to do the thing to have what you want. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. You got 2 Post-its and a notebook page so far of all the things you've been telling me. I hope if you guys are listening and you aren't driving, that you are writing them down or time stamping, because that is so powerful. And it reminds me of an interview of Dr. Joe Dispenza that I was listening to a few weeks ago, where he was talking about so many people are building in the material and forgetting the quantum. He's like teaching people to build from the inside, from the quantum, from the visualization, from exiting the limiting beliefs, dredging. This is like, I call it dredging the pits of your subconscious, because that's where all of your operating systems are coming from. That's where, when people are talking about shadow work and dark night of the soul and all this spiritual evolution, that people kind of hit and miss if they're into it or not. That science and spirit gapped to where you don't know, it's not going to give you a large amount of cognitive dissonance. Joe Dispenza just has it. Him and Greg Braden, faves to listen to about that.
Me too.
It's exactly kind of what you're saying. It's like, you really do have to step into that being, step into that powerhouse, and step into that energy. That abundance is a frequency, right? It's already there.
Right.
What is between you and that abundance? What limiting belief? What lack? What is there?
Right.
You just have to elevate up to it. And it's so powerful. And sometimes it makes me want to beat my head against my steering wheel when I think about it too much. Because I'm not the only person that's like, I want to be successful and live a good life, but not because I want it to be my job and I want it to be my title and I want it to be my identity. I want to do something with my heart that provides for my family and serves the collective, even when I'm gone. That is the ultimate goal for me. I don't know if my mom heard when I said it, but I felt it in my heart.
Well, and I think that's the when you said earlier about business and success and fame and all of this, I think you can have all of that. Like, seriously, you can have the fame, you can have all the money, you can have the yachts, if that's what you desire. But the one thing that you never really hear about when people are sharing the how to get there type of thing is the time it takes. Like, patience is the most underrated key to success. Success is defined by everybody individually differently, but success is a pinnacle. No matter how you define it, it's the pinnacle of your current life. But the assumption is, I thought of it Tuesday and I should have it by Friday. And that's really not how financial wealth is even created, unless you do it in the not so legal way, right? Like, there's plenty of like instantaneous boost of your income that you can do. But to have a sustainable lifestyle, it takes time. It takes all of the lessons learned. It takes all of the rejections. It takes all of the, sometimes you have to be up till 2 a.m. trying to figure out how to work Canva. Oh, good God.
Oh
Right?
God.
That's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole right there.
Yeah.
There's just so many things like, well, which payment system do I use? I couldn't even tell you because there's like, they're coming up with new ones every single day. Which
Yeah.
YouTube channel should I don't even have a clue. But you have to experience all of that
Mhm.
to get to finally going, yeah, now I know what it feels like to have $1 million. And then to top it off, you know how much taxes you got to pay on that anyways. So my point is,
Speak.
there's there's just so many things we think success is supposed to be, and then we say things like, well, we got to define it on our own. You already know what it is for you.
Mhm.
Trust me, you already know what success feels like for you. It's just now being patient enough to get there, like knowing that you're gonna have to give a lot of stuff for free in the beginning,
Mhm.
that you've got to build a fan base, that you've got to actually talk to people and also be kind to people and not shove your information down their throats, right? Like, we got it. This one pill is going to make me lose weight. You know what I mean? Like, we have to take a breath and know that we're talking to the quantum world where people are assessing you on a minute to minute basis based on your energy. Nobody actually really buys your service or your product. No one. And you know who can, if you're arguing with me, like, no way, my product is the most superior. Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Let's just start there,
Mhm.
right?
Very true.
Coca-Cola is the oldest brand in the history of marketing, 100 plus years old. Everybody knows what that red is, what the squiggly line is, right? Even before Nike hit the air, Coca-Cola has hit every corner of the earth. It's the most recognizable brand, and it still has to compete today with Pepsi because it's its number one competitor. And it just takes time. It takes time to build. You got to get people to trust that Coca-Cola, although it no longer has the cocaine ingredient in it, is still the superior drink. So they say. I don't know.
So
I
they
don't drink
say.
pop.
I think that's a great fable to sell your product even more. Like, we used to put cocaine in this, and then they found out. So
Right?
yeah.
Well, and so I just feel like we assume, well, I posted twice a day today. I should already have 5 bajillion followers. Yeah. No. Even before the internet, we still had to get followers,
Mhm.
just not in that way.
We just had a
And it
lot
took
more
time.
gas to spend to do it. Do you
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's almost like a pollutive thought? I think I just made a word up of instant gratification in the internet. So when people get into it, they attribute their success to, oh no, like I didn't get a new follower today, I didn't get a new client today. And they think like, oh man, I worked really hard on that post. Like I really thought it was going to grab people's attention. And then since again, we're programmed in the tech world for instant gratification, when that doesn't come, it immediately falls back on, oh, it must be me. Like, do you see a lot
Yeah.
of that with your people? And when their
Oh,
fame isn't Tuesday to Friday?
yeah. I actually had a lady once tell me, she's, oh, sweet woman. She said, yeah, I think I'm done with business. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, I'm thinking, I just talked to you 3 days ago. What happened? What happened in between? And because somebody unsubscribed to her newsletter, like, because you see it, right? It says such and such unsubscribed to you. And she took it so personally. One person unsubscribed, and she was willing to just leave everything. Like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm over it. I'm and I remember saying, "Oh, did that person like buy a lot of stuff? Like, is that your number one client? Like, how much have you made from this person?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, in the world of business, that's sort of the static information you need to know, right? Each person that is in your realm is sort of a number, because they're buying a product from you, then they're telling you their friends about you, and it's called their lifetime. Um, Gosh, now I can't even remember what it's called. Not money, but anyhow, that's the person's like worth as a client. And she's like, what? And I go, well, did they buy anything from you? Like, have they been buying anything from you? She's like, no, but we're friends. And I'm like, okay, so you're gonna quit a business that's already making like 5K a month, just as it is, because one person who's never bought a single thing from you unsubscribed. And she said, see, this is why I need you, because she made it very personal. I don't think it's a pollution. I think it's you're basing actual business process to your personal character, which has zero to do with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because that person who unsubscribed, who's your friend, still probably loves the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't want to get your newsletters about your product all the time. And
Yeah.
that's okay. But it would be a miss if that person that unsubscribed has been buying your product nonstop and has made you a nice little income. If they quit, then there's something wrong with that. Then there is a problem. There is an issue. There is something that's not going right with how you're showing up with your deliverables. But she was willing to literally shut down her business because of that. And then she says to me, every time that happens, it breaks my heart. And I want to quit. Oh, and that's the same thing with the likes. Women tell, well, I worked so hard on that post and no one liked it. Okay. Are the people buying from you? The people that are actually building your revenue and your profit, are they complaining about your post? Because if they are, then I would reassess the post. But if they're not and they're still liking you, that one person, it doesn't matter. Trust me, it does not matter.
It's amazing. I honestly think it just shows the love that people actually do have for their business. They are unconsciously tying themselves, tethering to it so much, but maybe they need to like detach from that and tether it upwards a little bit more. Because I mean, depending on whoever's business, starting a business is freaking terrifying. Putting your name on something and going, I don't know if I'm going to succeed at this, but I'm going to try in the light, in the scope of the world. It's absolutely, it's terrifying. Even as I speak of it now, I'm like, yes. I remember my first post. I remember when I was going to do this. I remember when I offered this service and I wanted to try it out. It was terrifying the whole time, but it's personally for me, it's through direct experience that I know, is this for me? Is this on my path? Is this what I want to do? And when it really is put on your heart, it's not going to leave you alone. It's just going to keep tapping.
Yeah. And we naturally, as human beings, love to talk about the things we love, right? We rarely talk about the things we don't like, and then people who do talk that way, we're like, ooh, we need space.
Yeah. So true.
So in business, it's the same thing. That's really what social media is. It's just a platform for you to talk about the thing you love so much, has changed your life, and you want to infuse that same level of love into other people that are probably were when you were suffering, right? If we look at it from that perspective, it's less daunting. You don't look at it going, oh God, I gotta have 3 posts. What's my content? Wonderful. How do I know what content? And I'm like, well, what do you normally talk about? Like, what do you say normally? How have you talked 5 of your friends to go to a movie they had 0 interest in going? It's the same thing.
So true.
Like all marketing really is loving your friends enough for them to love what you love.
True.
Right? Like, trust me, that soap is mind blowing. I don't know how many products I've ever purchased because my friends are like, girlfriend, trust me, that shampoo. And I buy this shampoo that's costly. right? For some people, it's like, are you kidding me? You can buy that thing at Costco and it's 500 gallons of that shampoo. But I just love that shampoo. So, and I got it recommended by a friend I truly trust. Now I can't use any other shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
It's the shampoo.
Find a shampoo that you love and you can work with and you never have to switch off of it. You have found the holy grail of shampoos.
Right?
I to switch mine every 3 to 6 months. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go over here and try this one and just keep moving along. But I envy that about you, Wonderful. I'm literally on the hunt now for new shampoo. So maybe that's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. Well, because I'm the most skeptical person too. I'm like, when I get into something, I'll use that forever. And I remember she was saying like, oh no. And what really sold me is when I got COVID, I lost a lot of hair. And I thought I had cancer. I was so scared.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, that's actually a byproduct of having COVID is you lose hair. And that's what got me into the shampoo and now I can't look at any other shampoo.
Yes. But I'm totally love your loyalty.
And isn't that all we're trying to do as business owners is we're trying to build a brand that has such incredible loyalty that they trust us so much. I mean, I know you have said to me many times, like, oh, I'm not really ready out to have a coaching anything. But every time I think about, ooh, should I get that book or should I anything in the spiritual realm? I'm like, I would ask you because you speak from your truth and you say it with such conviction. Not everybody who does what they do is very convicted in how they say it, right? They're like, well, maybe you should give that person. You're like, no, sister, trust me. You're like, oh, I know this. And then you give me this whole picture of your experience and what's the, and I'm like, oh, I never thought, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Now I have a list of like, oh, this is what I should look for when I'm looking for this healer or that thing or this thing. Because that's your expertise and that's your brand. And I know plenty of healers and spiritual guides and people. And it's so funny how I bypass all of their names in my brain and go straight to you.
That is the ultimate compliment. This episode is over. Thank you for tuning in. Wonder she just killed me with compliments. Time to go. Goodbye.
Well, your confidence in what you do is what sells me every single time. Like I'm like, oh,
I really do appreciate that because as far as like marketing and branding, I always want to be as authentic as I possibly can. I want to get the message across, but I have a true passion for people to hopefully not experience the things that I experienced. Whether I put myself in that, I was exploring it, it was curious, or it just spontaneously happened to me. Vulnerability is one of the things that I was like, we're going to get an F on this in the soul contract. Like, I'm never going to be vulnerable. I'm never coming out into the light. And just like doing this project alone is like a testament of me, like really stepping into my power and learning how to talk and speak authentically. And I fail all the time. Like, that's why I'm like, your compliments mean so much to me because I know all of the things that I'm still working on in the background that I don't want to bypass just because I get like the compliment that everybody wants to hear when it comes to their field of work. Like, I would love to start a coaching business and do one-on-ones and help people. And, I always, when I would get on phone calls with friends when I was younger, like I am that outside perspective for you, like too close to see the trees is how most people are in their lives. So when you have someone that has that eagle eye view that doesn't have that emotional attachment, it has always come easy to me when people ask those questions. My biggest struggle was obviously applying it to my own life. And that was the biggest freaking joke my whole life. I'm like, I can help anybody that calls me if they have a problem. And if I can't help you, I know who to hook you up with. I know what book to read. The saying will come through my vessel. And then I would be like, I am such a shit show, but my friends have like the greatest friend in the world. So like mine was, I need to really start being as good of a friend to myself as I am to everybody else. And as much love and connection that I pour into everybody else, I absolutely have to start doing this to myself, because I'm getting great reviews, but I'm not really feeling it on the home front. So let's really work on that.
Yeah. And that right there, that formula of you're getting great reviews, but it's not working. Once you have kind of solidified that balance, that's where financial wealth really starts to grow. Because that's the sweet spot. That's a sweet spot of how Richard Branson is, and Richard Branson that he is, and all the people on Shark Tank, no matter what industry, that was the sweet spot for every successful person, is when you can balance the how you serve people and how you serve yourself.
I love it. And speaking of serving others, you have this podcast that I was a guest on, and I had a great time.
Yay.
And I listened to our episode twice, and I swear if I ever have a bad day, I'm just going to put me and Lorna on back to back, because it seriously pumps me up. I love your project, but I want to know from you, the creator of it, why you felt it was so important to make the Evolution of Fempreneur podcast.
Well, so for me, I just turned 50 in December, and I remember being 20 going, oh my gosh, 40 is so old. I remember going, oh gosh, that's gonna be so. And then when I hit 50, I felt like, holy mother of Jesus, it's like being 20 again, but just smarter and wiser, and much more at ease with who I am. And if I felt that way, I was thinking, well, how does other women are feeling? So to me, the evolution of the fempreneur is honoring every version of us, because we can never, I think success, progress, enlightenment, the newness of life, the way that we impact and influence the world, can never be a stale space. It always has to be moving in a growth space. And I think women have been in the shadows of growth and we grow at phenomenal speeds, right? We went from, I'm in high school listening to my mom, to being a mother myself, while we're still kind of understanding the world around us. We're in this constant space of growth and growing, and we're having new sets of friends. Like when you're in your 20s and you don't have a kid yet, you have this set of friends that are in your, and then when you're in your 20s and you have a kid, right, you're in a whole different space. And then when you have a kid that goes to school, you have a whole, that level of evolution no one really talks about. Women don't talk about the way that they evolve and move. And then you add business into it. There's plenty of women like you who have young kids. You have real estate. I remember you had said you had a house somewhere else that you're, right? You have all these things. And then you're also this spiritual, wise woman, and you're not 108. Which is what everybody typically thinks when you're like this wise sage. So why don't we have these conversations of how we evolve? It's not an age thing. It's about an evolvement of ourselves that's happening pretty regularly. But dudes get to talk about it all the time. Like, dude, my hair's growing and it's falling out, and this is what I use, right? There's always all of these conversations with men about their experiences when they were the pro this to the dad this, but women, we rarely talk about that space of our own evolution.
Yeah, it's like we don't want people to know our faults because we're picked at them enough. It's like, oh no, I'm struggling with this because this is the image that I have to portray in order to be accepted. Yeah, that's
absolutely. Or menopause. Like millions of women are going through menopause. I don't hear a peep.
I hear crickets.
Yeah. So really, to me, that's where the evolution of the fempreneur. But I struggled with it at first because I thought, oh, what's this got to do with business? Because I don't really want to talk about business. I just want to talk about women and
Mhm.
the shape shifting we're doing all the time. And but
That's
then I said, forget about it. I don't, like I just
I
want
love
to.
it. It's extremely motivating for me. I can happily admit to having a dysfunction in my executive dysfunction on some lower vibrational days, to put it nicely. And my best friend is over here right now. And after the interview's over, she's like, yeah, you have about an hour that I can help you with your executive function until you have to go get Monroe. And I'm like, I need people to know that it's sometimes like it's like that weed eater. It's like, come on, just turn on. Like, I know what I want to do. Let's go. But the day that Lorna's episode came out, I could not wait for it to come out. And I did. And I was doing so much packing around my house that I'm like, I have to start this episode over because the energy in it is everything I needed more. And then I'm going to check out the other guests. But right now, and I started it over. I finished so much stuff on my to-do list because one, I love both of you. So like hearing your voices energizes me. And then I wanted to be a part of the conversation so bad. I was just like, oh, this is such a good conversation. And I would like the second time I like replied back what I would say. Cause I was like, this shit is gold. And then I went knowing in your introduction, everything that you do, I was like, she freaking motivates me on days where I cannot motivate myself like I want to. And I will put that shit on and I'm like, I'm just going to have a day with Wonderful and it's going to be amazing.
Thank you for that. Cause I really, my throat chakra has struggled a lot. It's the one space where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to express because it's, probably some type of trauma of my restrictive upbringing. And then I got really sick. I got this thyroid problem, which no one in my family has, that literally was a throat chakra situation. And recently I've been thinking like, oh, I should share more. And I'm like, no, oh my gosh, really? Stop talking? And you're encouraging me to give me permission for myself, give myself permission through your words that I'm the only one that thinks I'm talking too much.
I always think I'm talking too much, but I was also told that my whole life amongst of other non-offensive, offensive
Yes.
in my brain. They hit me like bombs. You thought you were just throwing like air bubbles. I don't know what you're throwing at me. But I am you in that scenario where I do have something to say. It is out of pure heart, pure intent.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge the trauma. I acknowledge my trauma all the time when I bring up, I can't even believe that I do this platform. You have no idea how far away I ran from a microphone and was like, fuck that. No, there are plenty of people out there. There's a million podcasters. There's a million singers.
Right.
All this. It doesn't have to be me. And then I just have like this pull in my heart space. And it's like, get back here now, like pulling me. And I mean, I talked to a guy, he's like, it's my self-imposed mission. And I was like, yeah, maybe some days I do feel like what I'm doing is self-imposed. I'm like, but it's on my heart. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about. But I feel you on the throat chakra stuff. It's not only personally, it's generationally, and it's in the feminine collective. But I think talking about it takes the disguise off of it. It takes the mystery off of it. And it's like, I see you, boo. Okay, I'm going to talk. I'm going to do it. And if you give me a cold, I'm going to transcribe it. I don't care. I'll get the message out. And you just keep pushing and pushing. Because still, this is my second show. I have no idea what number of interviews I'm on. I still pray and I still shake a little bit when I do interviews. And it's the excitement and it's the anxiety of it. It's like, I hope I really get the message out that I'm supposed to get out through my vessel today. I hope I don't tree branch too much, even though that's my specialty as well.
But it's so interesting too, because I bet people that know you and people are listening are like, there's no way. She's so confident. She speaks so well. Like, what? How is that possible that you'd be so shy or like don't want to speak? Or why is your, of all the chakras, the challenge is the throat for real?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, I think that's why I have to tell the story, because so many people would think that the trauma stems from somewhere else, especially, I mean,
Hmm.
always talking my whole life, but taking my life and using it as an example for you to decide if
Hmm.
I'm the idol or the anti-idol, if I am the success story or the cautionary tale. That's vulnerability 101. That is throat
Yeah.
for 101. If I have to be the villain in the story for you, cool. I'm so glad that that served a purpose for you. If I inspire you, thank you. I'm going to try to stay in the neutrality with that compliment, because that
Mhm.
skyrockets me into yes, 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 the message is received. But it's still a growing process. And the content that I've put out, like, you're going to look back at your very first episode like I do, and you're going to hear yourself the way that you've evolved from the intro, from
Yeah.
the voice, from your format. And you're going to go, oh my God, I can't even believe I put that out there. Because that's how
Oh,
I
yeah.
my first project, and even the first episode here, and a lot of the stuff that I'm rebranding. But I'm like, I give myself so much grace, because at that time, that was the peak. That was the top of the roller coaster for me. And I press publish. I didn't let that
Mm.
inner critic come in and be like, no one's going to like it. Everyone's going to annoy you and unfollow you. Everyone thinks you're crazy,
Mhm.
behind your back, all those stupid little thoughts inside your head. I'm like, I'm just going to go forward. That's all
Yeah.
I'm going to do. I'm going to learn as I go. And if I mess up, I'm going to go, and you can be like me and mess up too and move forward. Because
Yeah.
I don't have like $1 million invested into my business. Like, this is grassroots, baby. We're getting back up on what we're supposed to be doing
Right.
our whole life. So it might take me a little longer, but hey, check out all these mistakes I made along the way that made me a better person.
I mean, I'm just gonna throw a name out, and it's probably gonna make some people upset and some people like, "Ah, I love her so much." But Taylor Swift is a perfect example of throwing yourself under the bus and having millions of people relate to that in a way that's made her such a lovable, hateable product
It's very
that
true.
she brings millions of dollars into every city she goes into, all from that space of,
NFL, did you see the number she brought in just
yeah,
for the NFL alone? That's insane.
just for dating the guy. She's not even performing, she's not even doing anything. And it all stems from that one. Her core message has always been, I'm going to share all of me with you in the heartache, because her audience was teenage girls who were, and they say teenage girls are the loneliest people in the world, because it's when hormones are shifting, and it's a conundrum and conflict and all kinds of chaos happening. And she spoke their language,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're adults. They have the buying power of millions and trillions of dollars, who are now her audience. They grew up with her, and now they're paving the way of
They're bonded.
making every city, oh,
Yeah.
100%. And that's what we do as business owners, is that's what how we stand out, is to be the most authentic version of ourselves, is what's going to bring financial freedom, not sales. I mean, trust me, if you're selling, it's going to be a tough road. But if you choose to be authentic and serve others, I know that sounds corny and it's like, really wonderful. How do you do that? How do you market that? Market to their needs. Market to the needs of the people that need you. They will buy you every single time. Not your service, not your product, but you. They
Yeah.
buy you all day, every day. So if you don't show up and you wonder why you're not making any money, because no one knows you exist, right? But then if you think like, well, I'm just putting myself out there, but if it's the most authentic version of you, trust me, they will love you. And then you'll have haters too, but like, really, what energy do you give them? Nothing.
Mhm.
Zero. Zilch. And
I just
that's really
want
all it
to
is.
add you to my cart right now. Every time I speak to you, I'm already attracted to everything that you provide. But when you put it like that, I'm like, yeah, wonderful. I would buy you, because everything you say, it's just on my level. I totally get it. and I learned so much from you. It's just, I'm soaking it up. I'm like a sweet little sponge coming at you, ready to take what you're gonna give me.
I mean, honestly, if you came out with a journal, because you talk about journaling all the time, you call it your journal meditation, or what is it? The meditation journal. You say
Yeah.
you meditate, but then you journal it.
Mhm.
I've honestly, if you came out with a journal, a meditative journal, I'd buy that 100% because we all need to write out our feelings. And there's so many out there. How do you pick which one is it? And da, da, da. But if it's from somebody I know, I like, and I trust already, I would buy that because I need to process my feelings through writing. I just don't, because I don't look at a blank piece of paper and find it like it's not natural for me. So I need prompts. I need somebody, right?
It's
And
so
it's
good that you say that because I've worked on those several times in my own journal, and I've thought about doing it in the future. And I have like templates that I've worked on. I've just never completed it. So I'm taking this as like a tap on my shoulder to revisit that category. Because a lot of it really is like deep shadow work where I found that if somebody asks you the question, depending on where you're
yes,
on the healing journey, you're immediately defensive. But when you're by yourself and you read the question, your
yeah,
guards are down, nobody's around, and you're going to write it for yourself. And that's how I really started doing a lot of shadow work, is I asked myself really hard questions through writing. When I was reading it, it went past my security system and I was able to get it. So you might be onto something.
yeah. Well, and I'm just gonna end with this because we've been talking a lot about the spiritual growth of business space. I'm just gonna break it down in numbers for you, and so you have an audience of like 1,000 people, over 1,000 people, right? Let's just say that that's what you've built in the last how many years that you have been on this platform, and you have 1,000 people that listen to you, and you've already engaged so many. Let's say you're on your 500th episode. That's 500 people that you have truly connected to because we're speaking on the one-on-one and we're feeling each other's vibe and all of that, right? So then you say one day, okay, I created a meditative journal, and this is where it came from because this is my story behind it. And let's just say you are selling it for $9.99. So that's $10, right? Let's just say, which is a ridiculous amount. And of your 1,000 listeners, you have 150 that are just like, oh, thank God, I'm still in Cheyenne's world. This is how I can be involved. So let's do that 10 times 150. That's an additional $1,500 on something you already do that you're helping somebody else walk through their own process. And it's worth $10. It's worth $30 for me. And it's not because you're making money. It's because you're helping me process my feelings through a process you process your feelings through, right? You're just teaching me how to be a version of you through writing it down at $30 a journal, or even at $25 a journal. And
Yeah.
then in return, the energetic flow of that income at $25 times 150 people, that's $4,000
And
of
I'm
you
doing
support,
it.
of
That's
you
the
supporting
thing.
us.
Wow.
Does that make that's business?
Yeah.
That's how you build a soul aligned business is you give into other people's lives, right? And then we pay happily for that energetic space because I have 800 journals, 800 of them without anything in them because it's just a lot to think of it myself. I'm
Yeah.
thinking 8,000 other thoughts in a day. I am running a business, an empire, and I'm not going to sit here and just think about the question I'm going to ask today. But if I had a journal from my trusted friend Cheyenne, who I know is full of wisdom, ask me every single day one question that I can answer and process that through. I've already paid dividends on that $30 I've spent, right? I've already made that I've
Visit.
already made that money back because now I've become a better person by processing my feelings for that day. I become a more creative entrepreneur. I become a more expansive thinker as a business owner. Who doesn't want that?
I do.
Right? Me too. And then in return, you make $4,000.
Yeah.
This is how business actually really works.
Mhm.
That's the root of
I
business.
like
So
the
let's not be
soul part of
scared.
it too. That's beautiful. Because yes, I have so many bullets in the chamber that I'm waiting to refine. And man, that was so
Well,
great to
just
hear.
the thought. I need that journal because I have to process my integration thoughts every single day.
Yes.
And I don't
That
right
makes so
now.
much sense. Integration is my favorite. And yes, prompted. I've had to make my own prompts specifically for my journey, but that makes a lot of sense. And when I make it, you're getting yours for free since you inspired me. Tell all your friends. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying that is that I just want to encourage all of you listeners, especially in the world of healing, because it's a lot harder in that space to see your business as a business. And really it is, and it is profitable.
Mhm.
And it's not ugly, it's not greedy, it's not negative. It's that when you give me your heart, I'm able to give you my heart, my energy of cash,
Mhm.
right? Because that's helping me process. That's helping me become a better to be. Remember that butt puck wrinkle? Who
Mhm.
do you have to be? Well, I
Yeah,
don't know who I have to be. So maybe the first thing I do is journal the shit of who I have to be.
very
That's
true.
the only way to process, to know who I have to be to make $1 million.
You. I could just listen to you talk all day. It's so great. When you started on the calculator, I was like, yes, she's gonna tell us something. It's
Yeah,
so
and that,
good.
yeah.
Oh, well, if
And then
anyone's
if
ever questioning, like, should I reach out to Wonderful Morrison for brand and marketing? Absolutely. I mean, re-listen to the episode and grab your notebook again. But wow, I mean it and I'll forever mean it. You're an absolute powerhouse.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope that this conversation gives you the motivation and inspiration to look at your business as a way to serve others and to create your financial freedom,
Mm,
because it is, you can do it. It can happen. Everything we have in the world was an idea first.
mhm.
And then I don't doubt for 1 second women are not capable of having financial wealth, financial freedom. And your husband can still go work. Like my husband's work, you know what I mean? Like it's not about who wears the pants. It's not about that. It's about you. It's about what you're capable of doing. And who knew? Who knew that the thing you already do is the thing that creates your financial wealth? You already do it. You're just not sharing it with anybody else.
Oh yeah, and I definitely don't want it to end up in a cemetery. Your mom really got me. So I thank her from up above for giving that to you and you still being able to give it out to the world. Because now when we press publish on our episode in a few weeks, it gets to go out to the world. And we're gonna let the energies pull it to whoever needs it,
Hmm.
pushing it. So first of all, I want to thank you. Secondly, I I just have to thank you over and over for sharing your knowledge and coming. And thirdly, you are always welcome in a safe space. If you want to teach,
Oh, thank
talk,
you.
if you want to come on do karaoke, I do not care. You come back on this platform whenever you want. I want to hear everything you always got going on, and I'll keep my eye on you, and I'll always be in your corner.
Oh, thank you. And I just want to say I am open to listen. I'm not one of those people that you have to pay a bajillion dollars to get 30 minutes of their time. Another thing I learned from an early mentor is the most successful people are the most willing to give of their time. We just don't ask. So, for anybody who wants to look at their business really seriously and say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to make some money, which is a whole nother level up, is I'm here to share my knowledge with you. I mean, I don't know everything about business. Like, let's not get crazy here, but I will help you see that your business is worth what you're asking and you can create more than what you think. from it.
Amazing. Hire Wonderful Morrison today. Yes, that is.
Oh my gosh. Just, you
Yes.
don't even like, yes, that is definitely hire me, but I'm willing to spend time with you and for free to just so you can make sense and see clarity in your business. And then when you're ready for the big, then
For
you
the
hire me.
part. I love the accessibility you do give. I will say that, as from coming on each other's shows, even truly how accessible you portray yourself through social media. It's extremely authentic. And
Oh, thank
I
you.
love bringing people on the show that really just light a fire in my soul. And you are definitely one of those people. So I could literally sit here and fangirl you all day, but I know we have other fun things we have to do with our day.
I know. I thank you so much for having me. I thank you for allowing me to be part of your audience. And I really look forward to your journal because I need one.
Oh, well, let me get moved to a completely new state, and I will work on that journal, and I will send you your heartfelt copy, guaranteed.
Yes.
You really
Yes.
pulled something out of the depths where I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Why wouldn't I do that already? I just needed it. I needed to be told, just like you're powerful and it resonates with you. I feel the same way. Reciprocity at its finest.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My friends, Wonderful Morrison, brand and marketing architect, and also the host of the Evolution of the Fempreneur. Before we get out of here, as usual, I have a beautiful track for you. If you've heard this before, congratulations. We're going to listen to it again. But I have Calling Out from Neovi. It's that calling just tapping on your shoulder. Answer the call, my friends. I love you. I'll see you on the next episode.